Welcome to Disney A, the Canadian-themed Disney travel podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Krista. You got both thumbs going for the pointing today.
It's sunshiny and happy, and I'm not working today.
Woo! That is happy. That's
Yay!
very happy.
Okay.
Yay!
Yay.
Yay! I was gonna ask how you are, but that is it. That is it. So
Yeah.
instead, what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking a lovely gin peach concoction of some sorts. It's pretty good. We've been kind of drinking a little bit all day because it's been nice and sunny. And
Baking in the sunshine.
some local beer and went to the
Yeah.
local brewery and had some more local beer.
Yeah, we took your parents out. It's Mother's Day weekend, and yeah.
Yeah. Happy Mother's
Day.
Happy Mother's Day yesterday when you're listening to this.
Yes.
On the first day.
Yeah.
Yay moms.
Yay moms. Yeah. Yay moms. Especially our moms.
Yeah.
So, yay.
Well, we're talking about the like MCU and all the superheroes have daddy issues, but they don't.
That's true.
They don't have mommy issues.
No.
So that's good.
Yeah, good.
Yay moms.
Yay, because yay moms. I like it. I am drinking it's a raspberry sour, but it's called Radberry.
Radberry.
From our local brewery.
That's rad.
Yo.
You're yawning a lot.
Yo. Yeah, I
Don't-
would like sunbaked.
Don't yawn, because then I'll fall asleep.
Again?
Again. I'm also sunbaked. It's lovely. It's wonderful.
No, I'm like not even tired. My brain is just a little sunbaked. Yeah.
My tattoo's colors aren't as good because it's a little pink beside it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a little
anyway.
less stark.
Yeah.
Like stark, like.
Whoops.
No. And also, Brandon, what is your nerd thing this week?
Nothing. I got nothing. I sat in the sunshine today. There's my nerd thing.
Works for me.
I worked too much to have any nerd things
enough.
whatsoever.
Yeah. It was my school's. I mean, sometimes it's called grad and sometimes it's called prom, but it's like a grade 12 celebration. They kind of have two grads.
It's grad. Just
Yeah.
call it grad.
Well, yeah, but it's not actually graduating. So, anyway.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay. Anyway, that was on Friday, and everyone was lovely, and congratulations, class of 2024.
Except for you know who.
You know who you are.
I
I
don't know.
don't either.
Just being silly.
But it sounded ominous.
Yeah. Well, you said everyone was lovely, and I don't think that's true. And also, only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Oh, I am no Sith.
I don't know. Okay.
Oh, here's one for you, nerd thing.
Uh-huh.
We had crazy cool northern lights down here.
Here and everywhere in the northern hemisphere, from Canada to the UK to
It's crazy.
probably Russia, but we don't talk about them. So
Yeah. They're like Bruno, except less fun. No.
Yeah, Northern Lights were very nice,
that's
and they're
cool.
supposed to come out again tonight. We'll
We're
see.
gonna cross our fingers. It's a little cloudier, so we'll see, but who knows? Let's head to the news. Disney A news update. Reservations are open for Return of Fantasmic. Dining package, just the beginning one, although they said there'll be more information once Fantasmic
What's the
actually comes back.
What's the first day?
Not next week, like Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day.
Yes.
I could remember that.
Dates were also announced for Oogie Boogie Bash at DCA, although the dates for it being on sale has not been announced yet.
Unhelpful, but they're basically every Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday for
Something like
from
that.
August to October.
August 25th through October 31st. And there's now a Big Owl statue from Country Bear Jamboree at DCA.
So that's right beside the Grizzly Bear, the Grizzly River Run.
Yeah.
Ride, and they had a little area closed off where the lockers used to be, and they were turning it into a DVC area. And
There's still lockers, they're just not there anymore.
Yeah, they're somewhere else. You can still put your stuff in lockers,
fine.
free lockers, to keep them from getting wet. But they made this new DVC area, and people were like, "Oh, that's lame, DVC, blah blah blah." And I don't care for taking up park space for DVC.
Right.
DVC should be for the hotels.
Totally.
And you should keep it out of the park. But
Yeah,
anyway, that it's basically a place where they sell DVC stuff, but that's pretty minimal, and there's like some nice benches, and they put up a nice Big Al from Country Bear Jamboree.
Which totally suits Grizzly River Run area.
Yeah, it's a grizzly.
And
he's a bear.
If you have your Magic Band
So
Plus,
you would choose the bear, is what you're saying.
I would 100% choose the bear. So would you. Especially this Big Al, because Big Al's awesome. Apparently,
I don't know. He sings country music. I might not choose the bear in
but
that
it
case.
interacts with Magic Band Plus.
Oh, really?
Yes, I just saw this. You can interact with Big Al using your Magic Band Plus to trigger different sayings.
Probably like, I like country.
Probably something like that. Also, the second installation of Pixar Fest started this weekend, and we'll talk about that more next week. Yeah.
Yeah, and by second installation, you mean
the booths,
the
booths.
food booths. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, other than that, it was May the 4th, which is exciting.
And all the other news pertains to our main topic, so we won't talk about it now.
Exactly. So I was like, and later.
Okay.
Okay, main topic?
I got very high pitched there. I'm sorry.
You did. It was a little.
I should have given a speaker warning. I'm very sorry. We'll calm down.
Main topic.
Oh, are you going for your NPR voice?
I don't have one of those.
Yes, it's now time for Disney A on Sundays.
Mondays.
With your host.
We release on Mondays.
Okay. We release on Mondays.
Okay. Sunbaked. All right. It's going to be fun editing.
There was an idea to bring together a couple of regular podcasters to see if they could talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We call it the Disney A Initiative.
Marvel. MCU.
MCU.
The whole thing.
The
The whole shebang.
The whole kit and caboodle. When's the last time you saw a Marvel movie in theaters? You don't even remember.
Guardians 3, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? Because we didn't even see the Marvels in theaters.
We did not.
And we didn't hate the Marvels.
I kind of liked it, actually, and
I did
we'll
too.
go into that. But
Yeah,
the
but
point is,
Guardians 3.
there has not been a Marvel movie in quite a while, which is unusual because even during the pandemic, they had some on release on streaming, and they had lots of Disney Plus shows and things like that. And this year, after a few failures, I will say, box office failures, which is the important part because it is business at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent too much time at work because I keep saying at the end of the day, which is what's important at the end of the day.
Do you want to circle back?
Okay.
You start rocking back and forth.
Yes. So they've taken a step back this year, and there is going to be one theatrical release.
Yep.
In the middle of summer.
Yep.
And
July, like end of July.
Everyone's looking forward to this one.
So much.
But other than that, there's no Marvel movies coming out.
None.
And then there is going to be one Disney Plus show, the Agatha show.
Whatever it's called now.
I think it's just called Agatha. I literally,
Amazing,
I think.
no.
We'll see. That one keeps changing titles.
I know.
I think on purpose.
I think so too. I was like originally that like really concerned me, but I do think it's on purpose. I think it's messing with.
I'm looking forward to both of those. Mm-hmm. And then next year there is more, but
yes, but only 2.
But recently, the CEO Bob Iger,
mm-hmm.
he's still the CEO.
He is.
He's clinging to that now. Like the rumor is he's gonna extend again.
Mm-hmm. My goodness.
Whatever. He was saying that it might have been a mistake to have so much Marvel content. And that was just last week that there was some stuff. Yeah,
oh, okay.
he had I don't know where he was talking, but I saw some headlines.
It like saturated it
to that effect. So going forward, there's going to be no more than 3 Marvel movies in a year.
Mm-hmm. Which is still a lot.
Two usually, maybe 3 if they have a good reason, and then at most 2 shows.
Ooh.
At most. Probably less.
Well, this year it's less for sure. Like
he said going. He means going forward,
like starting 2025.
Yeah.
So I was looking because at the release dates for 2025. Okay, you already mentioned we only have one this year, so let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool and Wolverine, which everyone is looking forward to, me included. July 26, 2024. Captain America: Brave New World, February 14th. Hey, happy Valentine's Day. 2025.
Well, there's some red theming to that one, so it works very well. I won't say anymore.
You should maybe.
Well, the latest I saw on that one is so they recast the general from the Hulk because of course the actor passed away.
Yes.
With Harrison Ford.
Yes, I had heard that. Yep.
And it is confirmed that, as in the comics, the general will be becoming Red Hulk.
Ooh.
At least,
I wasn't sure if that was confirmed or rumored.
Well, it's a confirmed rumor, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I see. Okay.
So, like, one tier above a rumor.
Right.
They haven't, like, officially announced it, but,
right.
like...
This isn't just a case of where there's smoke, there's fire. There's, like, an inferno
there's
now.
There's fire, and someone said, hey, there's a fire, but, like, the fire department isn't like, there's a fire.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
The fire department is watching the fire, but they're not, like, acknowledging the fire right now. Okay. And then in May next year, May 5th to be exact, is Thunderbolts. And that's it for 2025. Currently, although that's just listed as, like, phase, what are we, 5 right now?
Maybe? I don't know.
Phase 5?
I think yes, I think Thunderbolts was supposed to end Phase 5, and then Fantastic Four is supposed to start Phase 6, but that is all kind of up in the air now, too.
That's exactly right.
So who knows? But those... And so that's the other thing. Fantastic Four will be in 2026.
Right.
And it always was supposed to be.
Yes, and that was supposed to be, like, the big
That's
thing,
on
right?
track. What's not on track is Blade. There's still, like...
Yeah, so...
Who knows where that's going to come?
I mean, we're mostly talking about the current state, but let me just run through what is currently listed as Phase 6. Although, like you said, it's all a mess right now. So right now we have Phase 5 ending in 2025 and Phase 6 starting in 2025, although... Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It said July 25th, 2025 is the Fantastic Four.
Oh,
so
they kind of moved that up.
Summer.
Because they originally said that was going to be 2026, I thought, when they first announced it.
Maybe this is all, like... I'm literally on Wikipedia right now, so, like... Yeah.
That's as good a source as any, to be honest with you.
Right. Blade. Okay, so if this is true, though, this is why I'm wondering if it's not true. If this is true, we have 4 movies in 2025. Because they right now have Blade listed as November 7th, 2025 on this.
Interesting. That's about the right time period for Blade. I thought they'd maybe release it before Halloween. But,
I wish, yeah.
Anyway, that's...
Yeah. And then they just have Avengers 5 listed as May 1st, 2026, and Avengers Secret Wars listed as May 7th, 2027. So maybe it's like moving forward we'll have 2 or 3 a year, except while we try and catch up from this whole writer strike thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe this is old and inaccurate. I don't know. It's tough because Blade should be released in the fall.
And again, this is all up in the air with how successful things are.
This is very true. I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about.
The point that we're making is, while the MCU is not dead,
no,
it's
not what it was.
It's not what it was. It's not. Yeah. It's not the easy, bankable thing that it was, even 3 years ago.
Yeah, and it was tough because I get COVID happened and everything, and that affected movies, especially big box office movies. But it used to be you'd put out a Marvel movie and it would make money. It would seem like it would make money no matter what, and it would be popular no matter what. And then a lot of people say oversaturation, especially with Disney Plus shows.
Well, there's a couple factors that I'll say. Oversaturation is one. COVID.
Yeah.
hurt with that because
I don't like blaming COVID for everything, but you can't ignore it either.
It was a big factor, and the biggest factor obviously is the Infinity Saga ended with Endgame, and that was an easy jumping off point for a lot of people.
Yep.
You lost a lot of the main cast.
Yep.
And people are like, okay, well, that was good. Moving on.
That's true. And anyone I talked to who was like a casual fan, that's what they did. They were like, oh, it's done. I didn't really feel like getting invested in a bunch of other stories or anything. And the only ones they seem to talk about as far as Disney Plus shows or whatever are the ones that featured characters they knew. They watched Hawkeye.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the one you watched? Okay.
He is one of the original 6, but he's still Hawkeye. Like, I don't.
Right, but I'm saying like that's what they chose to watch, right? Like they're like, oh, I'll watch one of the original. They didn't choose.
Loki is obviously.
Yes, that was obviously very. That is doing fine regardless. Just the same thing like you talk about the MCU. The Spider-Man movies that are in the MCU are their own entity as well.
And I will say, Spider-Man is its own beast. Spider-Man and Batman, and probably Superman, despite whatever's going on, will always be able to make another movie eventually.
Yeah.
Those characters are very, very, very popular and always basically will be, despite whatever's going on with the superhero genre.
Totally.
It's your B and C and D tier characters that you're not going to be able to make a Shang-Chi movie, which I loved.
I love Shang-Chi.
But you're not going to make that when it's...
When the MCU's not doing well.
Superhero movies are not in vogue anymore.
Yes.
Right?
So that's also part of it is, like you just said, superhero movies are not as popular as they were a little bit ago. So I teach film studies. And we talk a lot about, like, what's going on in society and what that, pushes in terms of, like, what's popular in the theaters. When musicals were popular, why? When westerns were popular, why? When whatever, right?
Those are the two big examples of like extremely, extremely popular genres that died.
Yeah, totally.
Died.
And every once in a while you get like a flare up of one of them based on like a really cool movie or something. And then it fizzles again. Chicago won a Best Picture.
We've had some revivals of the musicals.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fizzles out.
And then it fizzles out again.
And we've had some revivals of the Western
Very true.
as well. And then it kind of fizzles out.
But it's like short-lived little things. It's more based on like a movie or something. So we had a big superhero thing. And at the same time, you can't really... It's easy to blame Marvel for doing the oversaturation thing, which I think a lot of people do. They're like, oh, it's too much. They're a company, though, and they're like, hey, this is popular. We know it's not going to stay popular. Let's make money while we can on it.
Oh, sure. And I think you can put out content, like, it wasn't untenable amounts of content as long as it's all good.
Yeah.
But the problem was it wasn't all good. And on the other hand, DC was putting out much worse content, which is not helping either.
No.
I think you need both to be strong for each other.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of competition didn't hurt anyone, and there wasn't.
No.
There wasn't much competition,
No,
and it was actually kind of dragging the whole genre down.
Well, and then, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think? Like, I hear a lot of people about saying MCU is not as good as it was. What do you think about that statement? Because I'll tell you what I always think about that statement.
It's interesting. It's tough to think about because when the MCU was new and fresh, you had some weak films, and people forget about that because of what came after. But it was finding its way, and it was new and fresh, and people the expectations were lower. And then after Endgame, you had some really good, it like came swinging out of the gates with Spider-Man and Shang-Chi and stuff like that, and those were fantastic. And then you had some weaker films as well. So I don't know that it's that much worse, but it is a lot bigger, which makes the bad stuff feel worse to have to slog through to get. You have to, if you want to feel like you know everything, then you have to slog through more bad stuff.
Secret Invasion. You have to slog through Secret Invasion.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Disney Plus shows, and not everybody's going to have time for that.
Of course. You basically, like, hit it on the head in a very eloquent way. Thank you for that. I always say, people are like, oh my god, that's so terrible. I'm like, Thor 2.
Heck, Captain America, the first one, was extremely underwhelming to me, and that was the third MCU movie after, like, Iron Man was amazing.
Iron Man was amazing.
Iron Man knocked it out of the park and, like,
totally
made the whole thing.
did.
Incredible Hulk was very mediocre. In fact, I didn't actually watch it
Until later.
Me
neither.
And then Captain America seemed like a very easy sell.
Yep.
Superhero beating up Nazis, easy. I didn't really like it when it came out. And I was like, oh.
So I was kind of like, this is fine. I didn't dislike it as much as you did, but I also didn't go in with any expectations. The one I was most disappointed in was Iron Man 2.
Well, Iron Man 2 was pretty bad too, yeah.
Because it had, I'm like, but let's go back
But
to
that
the
came
first one
came out after the Avengers, so it was okay.
Well,
Or did it come out right before the Avengers?
right around the same time.
I can't remember. I think it came out right after the Avengers. Like, when the Avengers knocked it out of the park, then we were okay.
You were like, this is safe. So I think it's easy to point, while you're looking that up, I think it's easy to point at current movies and be like, well, it's because they're not good. And it's like, no, some of these are better than what those ones were. It's because they've had really good ones in between, and so people have expectations, but also they become emotionally invested in characters or storylines, which is great, or they become overwhelmed, or, you know, whatever. It's another reason, but it's not like they're not making good ones, you know, like, or you could maybe not be the target audience for it. That's okay. Part of what the Disney Plus shows are doing, we've talked before how they're doing different genres for everything. You might not like a particular style of show or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. And
so that might not suit you. You might not like that, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's not for you. And you don't have to like everything, but you don't throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I guess. What did you find out?
Iron Man 2 was before.
Was right before?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So Iron Man 2 was not good. Like, it was very disappointing because that's one I remember watching the other ones. Wasn't massively into superhero movies. I remember being like just rolling my eyes. Oh, good, we're getting another Spider-Man, like that kind of thing. Didn't dislike them, but I was just like, oh my god, another one, like that kind of thing. Still went to them, by the way. Still liked them, but was just like, let's make something different. And I really liked Iron Man, and we were watching all the other ones, and I always liked Hulk as a character, and they were all fine and whatever, they were enjoyable. But I remember being excited for Iron Man 2. Because I was like, maybe this was like me getting into them, and then watching it being like, oh.
Right.
Like, if Avengers hadn't come out, you could have lost me on that movie.
Right. It was pretty weak. Like, the villain... It was unfortunate because... that was right after The Wrestler, where he had kind of had his renaissance, so and then got handed kind of a really bad script villain with Iron Man 2. But it did introduce Black Widow as well,
which helped because I adore her.
And that was cool.
Yeah, and it was very cool. That was a very cool moment. But you easily could have lost me in Iron Man 2 as far as a superhero fan. Well, probably if I wasn't with you.
the MCU was a risk right up until that first Avengers movie came out, and then everyone had drank the Kool-Aid after that one. So
totally. So let's just talk about where the MCU is right now, because we talked before. We were talking about our like Comic Expo experience and how there are so few. MCU, actually superheroes in general.
Okay, so when did Endgame come out? Because that we were actually at the Comic Expo when it came out.
That is true. 2019, spring 2019.
Right,
obviously.
in the before times.
In the before times, yes.
So we are looking at 5 years since Endgame happened, which is a long time.
It's true. Mm-hmm. And that whole time has been Disney Plus.
It's been Disney Plus and a few movies that came out on streaming, and then some that came out in the theaters, and there's been no runaway smash hit. I think the most successful one was Spider-Man, which is of course like a co-production with Sony, who's have their own problems with superhero movies. We will not discuss Madam Web here. No.
Yeah. Okay, so Phase 5 opened with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, and then we have Deadpool and Wolverine, Captain America Brave New World, and Thunderbolts. So we actually should be talking about Phase 4.
Yes, Phase 4 was the end of the Infinity Saga, and I think they said Spider-Man was the actual end of it.
Right, even though it feels like Endgame actually is.
Yeah.
So we have listed here Black Widow.
And Black Widow is more of a prequel, so that's why they can get away with that, I guess.
Right, fair enough. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Oh, really? They're saying all that is Phase 4,
That's what they're saying. And then as far as the Disney Plus shows, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If Season 1.
Okay.
Hawkeye. Okay,
pause there. Mm-hmm. What If is awesome.
What If is so awesome.
I don't care. Do more of that, because that's
What If is amazing.
Awesome.
So was I Hawkeye, Moon Knight. Where was our last time we had a one-off like Moon Knight? Hey.
Yeah, and that was very solid and kind of like just off on its own thing, and
amazing.
Haven't heard.
Nope.
From it.
Although there's a tie-in with Blade, possibly.
Well,
there's a potential tie-in with Blade.
Maybe, I don't know. There's supposed to be a tie-in with the Eternals and Blade too.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is Blade getting made? I don't know.
Ms. Marvel, the I Am Groot Season 1, which is again an offshoot, but I get they're putting it under that umbrella.
I am Groot is kind of cute. I mean, they're very short, so like whatever.
She-Hulk, Werewolf by Night.
Oh, I forgot about Werewolf by Night.
So good. And Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, which
also very
loved.
good. Okay,
so good. That's like I need to watch that every year.
So their one shots were both good. They should do more of those. If they're worried about oversaturation, just do some one shots.
Yep.
I mean, they used to be known for the one shots.
Right.
Literally, that's what they called them.
I remember you talking about that before.
Basically, with every DVD release, back when DVDs were a thing, and you go to Blockbuster and rent those.
I remember.
That's how long the MCU's been around.
I remember.
They would have a special feature on the DVD of the last movie that came out that would kind of tie in between movies. Like you'd have some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going to visit Thor's hammer before the Thor movie came out.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that, and it was very cool, and they should do that. You have Disney Plus. You could do that for cheap, and it's good content. I don't know.
Well, yeah. So, do you think superhero movies are dead?
Well, there's a couple companies that really hopes that they're not, because they're investing. Yeah. Disney is still investing significant amount of money into superhero, and so is Warner Brothers. They are. Well, that just came out last week as well. The first still image of the rebooted Superman movie. Right. James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame is heading up. He's going to be the Kevin Feige of the new DC universe. Okay. And they're trying to build a whole new Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman thing. So
I mean, he did a really good job, but is this already such a mess that it's...
Well, the old DC universe, DC expanded universe, or whatever they were calling it, failed miserably because it mostly was really bad. Yeah. And they're hoping that they can reboot it, because they have a lot of strong characters on the DC side, and very popular. That's what I mean by strong.
Right.
Popular.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
easy sells.
Yeah. It's not like trying to make something out of nothing like you did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? It should be easy to sell a Wonder Woman, a Batman, a Superman movie, right?
You would think so.
And they've had trouble with that, but they are hoping to get that back off the ground and start making money.
Yeah. So what do you think about people who say the big problem with the MCU right now is, I mean, this is when you read the comment section.
Yeah.
The political
It's too
nature.
woke.
It's too woke.
They say that about everything.
Like, so we first said we were going to talk about the state of the MCU after we watched the Marvels, because like we didn't go see it in theaters, and that was we would typically be someone who goes. It just didn't work out. We were gone.
I wanted to,
We did
but we
too.
were not around, and
No.
then by the time we came back, it was already
We
kind of like
do not live in a
too-
town where there's
Yeah.
a theater. Let's just restate that.
Going to the movies for us is
It's a process.
it's a big process,
Yeah.
so it's not as easy as just like, okay, we'll go
yeah.
for
We
one.
gotta,
Yeah,
like, it's
so
a thing.
That's that. Yeah. So there is like, I think it's dumb to say, oh, this is woke, blah blah blah, but there is something to it that you look at the new crop of characters that they're trying to develop, and they basically have a replacement for all the main Avengers, and all of them are female.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Most
of them.
they're either female or a person of color,
Right.
or some sort
Some
of
other
minority,
Mhm.
somehow, somewhere. And well, I think that's pretty cool. Like, I don't mind inclusivity and everything like that. It probably shouldn't be every single
Right. I see
one,
what you're
because
saying.
then it feels like pandering. It's,
Right.
It comes back to that all women scene
Oh
in
my
Endgame, which
God.
is kind of lame.
It literally makes... So a lot of people, Endgame is their favorite.
Mhm.
Infinity War is my favorite. Because they had a good women group kind of scene there that made sense. They had one in Endgame, but it made zero sense whatsoever, and it affected the entire movie for me.
Right.
Because all I could think of was that it was
I
pandering.
mean, it was, and it made no sense. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
most of the new characters are actually really cool.
Yeah.
And so that it doesn't bother me per se, but I could see a casual fan being like, "Oh gosh, another one."
Right. See, this is interesting for me. I mean, I get what you're... Like, I totally get that. Like, I get the logic behind that. I guess what I have a problem with is... I mean, like, I'm a woman, but I'm not, like, a minority other than that. Is, like, what... All the men were like, oh, good, another one. Like...
Yeah. And that is a completely fair argument.
But, like, we just assumed they would all be men.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess maybe that's it. It's like, okay, another one, whatever. But, like, okay, so I'm going to be vague on this one. I'm reminded of a conversation I was having with someone I consider a friend. And we always talked about, like, comic books and movies and things like that. He's an MCU fan. And he really hated the Marvels. Is kind of what had this going on, right? And really doesn't like Ms. Marvel. And I adore Ms. Marvel as a character. When the show first was announced and stuff, I was like, this is probably one we won't watch. We're not really the target audience. It's very
Or
clearly,
we'll watch it, but whatever.
like whatever. We'll
yeah.
like half watch it, and it's fine. Whatever. But loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And Iman Vellani is
National treasure, quite frankly. She's Canadian, so national treasure.
national treasure. Yeah, no, she's awesome.
So we watched the Marvels, and I was explaining this, and then he said he watched it, and he just, like, despised it all entirely. And he's like, well, and besides, Miss Marvel, who heard of that? And I said, well, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's like, and his response was, I've been reading comic books 30 years. They should all be for me.
Mm.
And I was just like, I told you, I was like, I didn't even know what to say to this, because this is like an intelligent, there's nothing like, I would never say he was, you know, all those labels. Like, I would never say he's racist or he's sexist or he's,
right.
like, I would never say he's any of those things. But I was just like, I don't even know what to say to that. Because I'm like, I didn't read comic books for the last 30 years. Does that mean I'm not supposed to enjoy these?
There is an element of gatekeeping and stuff. It's a very deep conversation which goes far beyond the confines of the state of Marvel that we're trying to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
So do you think that deep conversation that goes beyond the state of the Marvel confines, do you think that is a lot to play with the current state of the MCU? Or somewhat, at least.
I don't think it matters who your main characters are if you're telling good stories.
That's what I think.
If it's fun,
if you tell me a good story with a character I care about, I don't care beyond that.
If it's fun, people will watch. Like, if it's good and whatever, there'll be a small subset of people that won't go see a movie with a female superhero, but that's not gonna change your...
You don't think so?
No.
No.
It's not big. it's not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe that it's not big enough, and I don't think it is. There is a vocal minority where that is true for, but they're still a minority.
You are much more optimistic about that than I am.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time online in like gaming circles where vocal minority is very large and front and present, and I know just from experience that
it's the minority.
They think they're important, but they're actually not.
So I spend some time online, not as much as you, and the gaming is much more volatile, probably would be a good word for that kind of those voices.
Oh yeah.
I guess I'm more negative just as I work in a career that the very loud minority affects my job.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm probably more cynical about that. And then of course, you know, being a woman, the vocal minority is very, very negative and scary. So I guess my default is like that's affecting it.
It doesn't negatively impact it, so I have a different perspective.
Right.
Like it doesn't negatively impact me personally,
right.
So I have a different perspective.
Right.
But I know that they can be very loud and scary.
Can be. Yeah.
But they're not as important as they think they are.
And
not even close to as important as they think they are.
I think that there's way fewer of them. I think that they are as important as they think they are because they're the loudest, and right now the loudest matters. Do you remember there was this is on Netflix, I think, that documentary about flat earthers? This was before COVID, so it was like the controversial
was it before COVID?
Yes, it was before COVID. Because I always show my students that when we talk conspiracy theories, and a lot of the scientists and people like that said we like just ignore them because we're like there's so few of you and you're just loud, but like whatever. But
no, you can't.
But you can't ignore it.
You can't ignore them, but you also can't. You can't stoop to their level because they'll beat you with experience.
They'll Mark Twain you.
They'll Mark Twain you exactly.
Drag you down their level and beat you with experience.
Exactly. Like there's a fine line. You can't fully ignore because it'll fester.
But you can't engage.
But you can't engage either.
Yeah.
You just have to talk eloquently as you can and go with what you believe in.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
If you're at all interested, actually, I highly recommend that documentary, that Behind the Curve.
Behind the Curve. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I just remember one guy, because I always show the trailer, and the one guy was like, the first time I heard of Flat Earthers, I think I was actually on the space station. I can't believe we're talking about this. But that was their whole thing, is when they say, well, I'm not going to engage with this is ridiculous. But then people are like, look, they're not even talking with us. We must be right. We must be onto something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously conspiracy theorists is one thing, but it's that idea of being loud, gathering more, and then that is how you have the power. Yeah. So... But anyway, that's a tangent, but it is a related tangent with this idea of there being whatever that is, right? Whether it's people being loud about whatever, like you said, all the new replacements or things, or if it's just I'm not gonna watch it because it's not for me.
And going along with that, people being loud and whatever, the MCU was so popular that it then became fashionable to diss it.
Oh, I was actually going to ask you about that. It's like hating on Taylor Swift just because she's popular.
Exactly. Anything that gets popular enough hits a critical mass where then it becomes cool to make fun of
Especially
it.
Especially if you're in like Gen Z or Gen Alpha or something like that.
So it's also dealing with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that it's kind of, the sheen's kind of come off, that's not as true.
But yeah, it's still a factor.
It's still a factor. It's easy to hate on Marvel. No one's gonna think that you're dumb for saying, "Oh, superhero movies are dead" or whatever.
Yeah, right? It's like hating on pumpkin spice lattes. Right?
Pumpkin spice lattes or Nickelback or
right, exactly. It's like, oh, you like popular things. It's like making fun of someone for being basic, right?
Yeah.
Which is really a shame because there's some great movies in there. Are there some mediocre movies? Sure. I can honestly say, and shows. I can honestly say, though, I haven't actively disliked anything. The closest would be Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion was bad.
Yeah. And Iron Man 2. I mean, Thor 2 may have been worse, but Iron Man 2 I was really looking forward to, and I remember just feeling really let down by it.
Right.
Honestly, like I said, if I hadn't been with you, that could have lost me right there.
Love and Thunder was not great either.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
That was very disappointing.
And that one I was really disappointed in because I adore Taika Waititi so much.
Yeah, he went off the rails with that one.
Mm-hmm. He missed the link that he can usually do between serious and funny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude made Jojo Rabbit. Okay, like if you can do that, you should be able to handle what was supposed to be Thor, Love and Thunder.
Ragnarok hit that line. Love and Thunder went off the rails.
It just did not work.
It didn't work. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So what about so we can agree that it's not very popular right now. Do we think this is going to change looking ahead to the end of Phase 5, beginning of Phase 6? And that's going to lead us to the news that we haven't talked about yet about,
I don't think, I think Infinity War Endgame is going to represent the high water mark.
Okay.
And it's never going to quite get there again. I think that there will be high points still. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, Deadpool is gonna be part of the popular culture. Is Grandma gonna go to it? No.
It's also don't take Grandma to it.
It's also rated R, so there's a little bit of a different conversation. But is that going to become the highest grossing rated R film, beating out Oppenheimer from last year? Maybe.
It might.
If it's good,
honestly, might.
If it's good, there's a strong chance.
I think. If anything is going to do it, this is going to be it. Like, for a for foreseeable. Yeah.
And then it's going to depend a lot on quality.
Yeah.
What they focus on. Fantastic Four has a shot, but they still haven't made... Fantastic Four is tough to do. Mm-hmm. It works in comics. It's tough to do. There's four lead characters. Yeah. And there's a lot of history that makes it work in the comics that you can't do in one movie.
So what I worry about you're a Fantastic Four fan. I only I watched the movie.
It's literally the only comic books that I read growing up. The Odd Thing came in and out, but Fantastic Four was my jam.
Comics. Yeah. So we've talked about this before, and I just had a thought. We've talked before also about how much I love the Hulk as a character. But doing standalone movies with him does not work. It's very tough to write the Hulk. Mm-hmm. And it shows from the movies that have happened. Yeah. So I guess I worry that Fantastic Four is kind of like the Hulk in that sense. I think the Fantastic Four is easier than the Hulk. Mm-hmm. But they haven't got there yet. Mm-hmm. I'm cautiously optimistic at the direction they're taking. So this one could go either way for me. This one you're slightly more optimistic than you were when they first announced Fantastic Four. Yeah, I think they're making the right choices. So let's talk about it. There's a bunch of news that I was gonna ask you just now. So. There's a bunch of news that has come out. They announced the main cast, we talked about before, and that's cool. They've done a little bit. And I love the way they announced it, which is also very optimistic. They haven't shown any footage or I don't even know if productions began yet. They probably hasn't. So obviously pre-production maybe. Yeah. Well, obviously pre-production. They're casting people. That's part of pre-production. That is part of it. Yeah. And just art pieces and things like that they've released, and that's pretty cool. Recently, they announced John Malkovich is going to have a role, but in it, which is I don't even know what he's playing, but nope. I don't know. John Malkovich is great. He's great. He's amazing. He's so cool. He gives his all in everything from the dumbest movie to whatever. So if he signs on, he is committed. Whether or not he should be, but he is 100% committed to it. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I just want to know who he's playing. I don't know what he's playing. Anyway, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So that was one, and then they announced that the main villain of this movie is Galactus. Yes. And they cast the guy in as Galactus, and he's kind of a character actor. Mm-hmm. I don't even know his name. Oh, I know his face. Oh, that guy.
That guy,
One of those old. That guy.
He's been in a ton of stuff. I think, honestly, the thing he's most famous for might be the father in The Witch. Mm-hmm. And if you're a gamer, he's actually Lorath in Diablo 4. Mm-hmm. Which you haven't played.
No, but you were telling me about this.
He's got a really cool voice.
Mm-hmm. Ralph Ineson.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Ineson?
That guy.
That guy. Hey, it's that guy.
He's been in all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. Like he was in Star Wars as like some random.
Yeah, you sent me like a big list, and I was like, oh, one of those guys.
All sorts of things.
Like I do recognize his face.
Yeah, and most people would. He was actually in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
He?
Yeah.
Oh.
Harry Potter movies, all sorts of random stuff.
You said he does a lot of voice work, like character work, and a lot of voice work.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this casting? Tentatively, of course. Because like you said, it all depends on the story.
Well, it all depends on the story, and it all depends on how they do Galactus. I would imagine that it's gonna be mocap at best, if not fully CGI, and it's going to be a lot of voice work. And he's got a cool voice, so that's it. That works for me.
So you're optimistic about this casting does not concern you.
And
let's put it that way.
And the other good news about this is they're doing Galactus as the big bad, and they're not going straight for Doctor Doom.
Right.
Which was the fear. That's the easy route when it comes to the Fantastic Four. Doctor Doom is probably Marvel's coolest villain.
Right.
But when you have one Fantastic Four movie, which they've tried to do twice now, do an origin story for the Fantastic Four. Again, you have four main characters, and then the villain Doctor Doom is a main character in and of himself, and you can't do that in a 2-hour movie.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Okay, yeah. I do remember when you were saying when they were doing Fantastic Four, before when they started talking about like the 60s and the possibility for a way to do that, you're like, I hope they don't do Doctor Doom.
Now, what I do hope they do is they introduce him just as like a side character.
Right, like a throwaway comment, or maybe the after credit scene.
Well, no, I don't want it to be the after credit scene, because that's too
obvious.
Too on the nose. I want him to be kind of there, but not remarkable or something.
Okay.
Just
like a mention of him.
Yeah.
Like a nod to him. Interesting. Okay.
Anyway.
So even though I don't think it's like fizzled out, but I do think it's, again though, look at all the MCU. There have been highs and lows the whole time.
There's been highs and lows the whole time.
It's just because we came off Endgame.
And I don't know if we can do this conversation justice without seeing Deadpool.
Fair.
Because I think that's going to kind of be a pivot.
He is Marvel Jesus.
As the trailer says. But I think that's going to pivot us towards where the MCU is going, i.e. Secret Wars.
Right, yeah.
Which is what they're going to be trying to build towards. And who knows how they pull that off, because it's really cool in the comics, and I don't know how it works with the state of the MCU right now, but
they got some ground. Yeah,
it might be an easy sell because they can bring back
everyone
except
Uncle Ben. Oh wait, Aunt May.
They could even bring back Aunt May.
Okay, well here's one for you. Another friend that I was talking about comics with loved the Avengers comics. Hated Infinity War and Endgame, which is widely regarded to be amazing, and I adored it because they were so invested in. They're like, that wasn't Infinity War.
Yeah, and so that takes you back to like on the page purists. You have people that are that way with, like, say, the Lord of the Rings movies,
or I'm that way with Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. The MCU especially, like Lord of the Rings is a little bit of a different conversation, but the MCU especially is an interpretation of these characters, and they pull ideas from different comic books. It's not trying to recreate that comic book. If you want to watch a recreation of a comic book, go watch Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
Right.
That is like
frame for frame,
frame from the comic book, and like why you have
the comic,
you have the graphic novel, just like I say, you have the book, you can go read the book,
And you say that too about when they do a recreation, a live action Disney recreation, frame for frame almost, of a Disney animated movie. Like, why did we make that? Like, you didn't interpret it at all differently.
Yeah.
Like...
So it is an interpretation. Although I will say, on the other hand of that, the Hobbit trilogy, the only one I like was the first one because it's closest to the book. So maybe I'm a hypocrite. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna Pride and Prejudice is not really the same kind of nerdy conversation, but I love using it as an example.
It's still pretty nerdy.
It is nerdy. It's just a different type of nerdy,
it's different. Right? It's still nerdy.
I like good stories regardless of whether they come in flying people in capes or Regency era teas.
You could combine the two.
Oh,
that'd be fun.
God, that's amazing. I think
which Avenger would Mr. Darcy be?
Doctor Strange.
Really?
No, let me think.
I was thinking like
Bruce
Iron Man.
Banner.
I was thinking Iron Man.
No,
because he's rich.
But he's super rich. But he's like, Iron Man's very outgoing. That's Mr. Darcy's whole thing. Is he keeps to himself so everyone thinks he's a jerk, but he's really just introverted.
I see.
And he's a little arrogant.
But he's so rich.
He is so rich. Which the obvious thing was Iron Man, and he's very brooding, which Iron Man can be. But he hates parties. Also, that's like one of his defining characteristics. Is he hates being around people. Mr. Bingley.
Bingley would be Iron Man.
Totally,
okay.
Yeah.
So
actually, Bruce Banner.
We should sit down and get the Jane Austen universe casted as Avengers.
This is totally going to be an episode one day. Just so you know, this is going to happen. Okay. Oh my god! And then we'll do it again with Star Wars. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna think about that right now. Because I'd like Doctor Strange because of the intelligence, and he's also rich. Not as rich as Bruce Banner, sorry, as Iron Man, but he doesn't like people.
Right. Sorry, I got you off. Okay. I got off your train of thought.
Okay, so the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice is very popular. And it's widely regarded to be beautiful. And when I was watching,
and that's a typical movie, like
it is
your 2-hour movie.
It is, and I mean, my favorite is the 1995 BBC one. But I was watching it and I was like, this is lovely. Okay, like they're making some changes, but I get it. It's a 2-hour movie. Yeah, that's fine. Keira Knightley is doing a beautiful job, blah, blah, blah. And then they made one change and they lost me forever on it. And it angered me so much. The whole purpose behind Elizabeth wanting to marry for love and not money is because her parents, she doesn't want to end up like her parents. Her parents hate each other. And in the movie, they made her parents slightly affectionate towards each other. But they're supposed to hate being in the same room together.
Right.
Like throughout the whole book, that's her whole motivation. I'm like, you can change things but like otherwise her whole point for being the way she is gone.
Right. And
they did that because it was a cute movie and they had Donald Sutherland playing her father, and so like, let's give him some moments kind of thing. But it lost me. And so I'm like, if you want to interpret things differently, I like Lord of the Rings. I like the movie too.
Yeah.
Right? So like, it's fine. You made some changes. Okay. You can make changes, you can interpret it, but don't like lose the like, this is what it's actually about and why it exists. Jane Austen wrote as a commentary of women's roles at the time and her being confined that she couldn't marry for love. So by doing that, it actually like screwed up everything, including her whole point. So that's where it loses me. If you lose the point, then you lose me.
Right.
So I guess maybe, did they lose the point of Infinity War, do you think?
Infinity War, absolutely not.
Did they lose the point of Secret Invasion?
Yes. They super lost the point of Secret Invasion, like super duper. Like way off. I don't think they could have had the actual point of Secret Invasion, because the whole point of Secret Invasion is that the Skrulls could be anyone, and it was kind of actually playing off Civil War, so they couldn't really do that either. Because Civil War, the whole point was all these superheroes had no identity; they had secret identities, and then they had a whole thing of like. A lot of them had secret identities, but Iron Man didn't.
Right.
And the whole thing was Spider-Man was on Iron Man's side, and he actually revealed himself as.
Oh,
and it was like this whole big thing.
My goodness.
And then kind of Secret Invasion spun off of that with like
and then these Skrulls come in and could be anyone, and they could like impersonate superheroes, and then you didn't know who,
because everyone had secret identities anyway.
You didn't know who was real, and I don't know. So
Interesting.
it super missed the point, and they didn't go into the whole really fun thing of going back to like the Thing or whatever, where you don't trust anyone because.
Right.
Even though you're looking at them or you're looking at a video,
right,
you don't know if that's really them.
Yeah, that's because I just was using that as an example because that's the one that I was most disappointed in. Yeah. So overall, last thoughts about where you think the MCU is at right now.
It's at a turning point, and we'll see where it turns.
And you think Deadpool is the turning point?
Deadpool is the obvious turning point. Now, Deadpool could be really good, and the MCU could still fall away into obscurity. In 5 years, are we going to still have 3 Marvel movies a year?
I guess we'll find out.
I would say it's a 50-50 shot at this point.
Maybe. I agree with Deadpool, and I think we revisit this conversation after Deadpool's come out.
Yeah, we'll mention it, I'm sure.
I have some questions for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to know which Marvel character are you internally and which are you externally, because we can't all be 100% grouped. It says. Hey, ready?
Sounds painful. Okay.
Yeah, right? Okay. First, choose a vacation spot.
The beach.
Santorini, Honolulu, Bangkok, New York City, or San Francisco. I almost said San Francisco. San Francisco or Paris.
If it was San Francisco, that'd be the one. I guess out of those, Honolulu. I guess.
Most beach-like?
Yeah. I don't know.
Pick something to eat for breakfast. Scrambled eggs, pancakes, yogurt and granola, cereal, avocado toast, or bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
So this is between pancakes and bacon, egg, and cheese. Agreed. And it's bacon, egg, and cheese.
I could have picked that for you.
Yeah.
What is a quality you look for in a best friend? Honesty, loyalty, good sense of humor, sense of adventure, confidence, ambition.
Sense of humor.
Which MCU origin movie is your favorite so far? Iron Man, Thor, Captain America First Avenger, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Iron Man.
You gotta go with the original.
It's the original. And my other favorite isn't even on there, Shang-Chi, so yeah.
And which MCU TV show has been your favorite so far? WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Ms. Marvel, Hawkeye, or Moon Knight?
Probably Loki. Loki. That's tough, but it's Loki.
Choose someone to fight crime with. Mark Ruffalo, Benedict Cumberbatch, Samuel L. Jackson, Tessa Thompson, Elizabeth Olsen, or Zoe Saldana.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Fair enough.
Yeah. We're gonna fight some crime together. Yeah.
Pick a TV character to save from Thanos' snap. Christina Yang from Grey's Anatomy. I don't know who most of these people are. Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. I know who she is. Eric Effiong from Sex Education.
We haven't watched that one.
Nope. L11 from Stranger Things. Or Glenn Reeve from The Walking Dead.
Well, we haven't watched The Walking Dead, but Glenn doesn't fare so well, and he probably doesn't want to be saved from... He'd probably rather be snapped, let's just say that. I'll say 11.
Fair enough. She's awesome.
Yeah.
She'd most belong in the MCU, too. What's your go-to karaoke song? Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Oof.
Ooh, impressive if that is your go-to. Wannabe by Spice Girls. Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction. About Damn Time by Lizzo. Or I Don't Do Karaoke.
I don't do karaoke.
You should do karaoke. And finally, pick an MCU duo. Is it Thor and Loki, T'Challa and Okoye, Bucky and Steve, Korg and...
Korg and Meek.
Natasha and Clint, or Peter and Ned. These are all great duos, by the way.
They are great duos. I'm going to go with Thor and Loki, because that is the best bromance.
You are, internally and externally. On the inside, you are like Bucky Barnes. You are quiet, loyal, and practical. That's actually true. You are someone who prefers to spend time alone and not in big groups. It often takes you a little while to warm up to people. And on the outside, you are like Thor. You're sincere, generous, and a leader. You're someone who appears to not take life too seriously. You want to make sure everyone around you is having an amazing time, even if that means you keep some of your own problems to yourself.
How did they get that from a little stupid quiz?
I don't know, but it's
anyway,
very
it's
accurate.
kind of creepy,
It's
but
very
whatever.
accurate.
I don't look like Thor on the outside, though, so...
Looks is not what it was asking
Yeah.
about. It was acting like.
Okay, yeah, no. Do not look like Thor, but that's okay.
You.
No, most people don't.
No, I was gonna say, who does?
Including Chris Hemsworth, he does not look like Thor
actually
most
look
of the
like
time.
Thor. All
Most
right,
of the time.
Most of the time. Well,
He's,
once in a while.
he's like 80% of there most of the time.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's all right, actually. Well, that's our show this week. Thanks, El Mule, who's responsible for the custom theme song you heard at the top of the show. You can find a link to his work at our website, disneya.wixsite.com/podcast, and that's also where you can find a link to our social media accounts as well as our email. Oh, also, I updated our website again. You can find Disney A episodes on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms and on our YouTube channel, Adventures A. If you rated or reviewed our podcast, thank you, and if you haven't yet, please do. Next episode, we are talking about Pixar Fest in Disneyland, as well as mentioning a little bit about our Disney plans, because when you hear the next episode, we will be in Disneyland.
We'll be flying home from Disney.
Oh, that's true. So I'm Krista.
I'm Brandon.
And until the next adventure, TTFN, ta-ta for now. Thanks for listening to Disney A.